Hello, hello. Hey, this is actually kind of loud. It's distracting. All right. So, gonna start off week 2 of my fitness tracker application. Um, Last week, kind of left off. Here's kind of our board showing what we got done. I set up the project and I pretty much just built the models. Was where I left off last week. Did some thought process over the week trying to figure out what I want to do and how I think I should really fit it in with the project and like how things should fit together. So let me go over here. How do I do this? Is it under? No. It's under here. Yeah. Okay, so here's my wiki and then I should be able to go to here. Diagrams. Okay. So just as a reminder, I don't know if this is viewable. I don't know how that works on GitHub, but I do have a wiki under the project, and it has a bunch of different things that I've put together. So one thing that I was thinking about the last couple days is how to track sets. So sets are an interesting idea because in the case of like if you're not familiar with working out, a set, there's different types of sets. So there's like a standard set where I'm just going to do 8 to 10 repetitions of a movement at a time, or a drop set where I perform however many repetitions I want, and then I take the weight off and I go down, and then I do more repetitions, right? So that's a drop set. And so what's another set? Another type is like a rest pause set where I perform repetitions, I take a break, do more repetitions of the same weight, take another break, so on. So one thing to group those together, like in the case of a drop set, a rest pause set, or a another one that I was considering is a superset. A superset is when you perform one exercise of a certain number of repetitions, and then you do another exercise back to back. And so those should be both grouped together as one set of things, and then you do like you repeat that cycle of doing those two exercises, little to no rest, over and over again. So I think the way I've written, or there's some changes that I need to make for the database model. Oh, that's right. I have my thing on plant UML. So can I do this? Can I just take this link that's in here? Oops. And edit it? Is that like a thing I can do? Oops. I don't know if I can edit this way. So let's see. So we want this guy, I'm pretty sure. That's not great. So thank goodness we have a backup of what I wrote, and here it is. So we're just gonna copy this guy from the other screen and we're gonna paste it. Cool. Good thing I have a backup on my notes, local notes. Okay. So I was thinking about it and I added it to the backlog. But I want to update the set object to do a couple different things. One, I think having a self-referencing foreign key will allow me to group sets that need to be associated with one another. So in the case of a drop set, a rest pause set, a superset, I create one like top level set object or record, and then underneath it, I am able to maintain the sequence and associate them back to that like parent set record. And then another thing I forgot in the case of like when I'm doing templates, when users are going to be able to create templates for workouts, they need to have the option of providing minimum reps and maximum reps for a set. So two things that I didn't quite think about before. So I'm going to go ahead, tackle this one first, because it should be pretty straightforward. We should be able to do a foreign key that's referenced to our own object. So I like to do it off of here. Let's change this. We don't want to branch off of main. I like to branch off of develop. So that way when I'm ready for like a release, I do a pull request from develop into main, and then that way I can create a tag on main. Okay, so I'm prefixing the feature. Right repository, right branch. Cool. Let's copy that. Copy this. Where are we? Oops. Come over here. We are in my repo. We'll paste those. Cool. So that's now pulled down. Close this stuff. We don't need all this stuff. Oh, we do need this guy. Okay, so here's our folder structure again. Core is like our top level, and then we have our main project, which is the Awaken Fit folder. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to change this one from reps to completed reps. And so that way it's more apparent that like these are a number of reps that the user actually executed during their exercise. And then that way we can do like min reps, and it's just going to be a models integer field. And we'll just do a default of 0. And the reason why we're going to do default 0 here is in the scenario when like it's not a template, we're not going to fill in the min or max reps. So them being 0, it's fine. Max reps. I guess I could just, oops, I don't want integer choice. I could have copy and pasted this since the only thing that was different was the name. Now, the only thing that I haven't done in a little bit is self-referencing foreign key. So this is another project that I've done before. I didn't really do much with it. It was a tracking app for like a game that my friends and I like to play called Magic the Gathering. But I should have a reference here to, yeah. Oh, I changed it. I thought this was a, okay. So I'm gonna actually look this up because I don't remember exactly how this works. There we go. I've already looked it up. So let's look at this. Oh, the Django form. I don't want it that. I wonder if there would be an easier way instead of doing. Okay. So I can just, that's all it is. That's the only difference. Is because you have to, instead of providing the class name, you just provide the string instead of for the foreign key when you're referencing itself. So how do we want to name this? We'll probably call it like think what would be a good name. If I do parent, that doesn't really give me a whole lot, I don't think. Close that. I'll just do parent set, I think, for now. And if I need to, I can always come back and change this eventually. So we're going to do parent set, and we're going to call it foreign key to self. Okay. And so that gives us a nice little top level object to group sets that should be associated with one another underneath it. Okay. let's actually come over here. Not that. Let's update this. So we kind of started doing a couple of things. I want to make sure my documentation is good. So let's do, we came change this to completed reps. And then we did, where did my cursor go? Oh my gosh. Int min reps. And then we'll do int max reps. And then we'll also include a set parent set. Okay, so let's copy that. Oh man, did I do this right? Oh, I could decode the URL. I wonder if I could have done that. That would have been helpful. Let's see if that works. Didn't do it right. I don't remember. I'll have to figure it out. But at least I know what I need to update, so that's fine. So let's go back here. So we have this. That's. Do we want to include anything in our string representation to include like the set type? Maybe I think I'm going to do that. We'll do self.setType. So that way, oh, one thing I didn't think about is if set, because I'm pretty sure the Django, or not the Django, the Python reserved word is all undercase. Let's do that. Oh, I'm not in, I'm in the wrong terminal. Let's go this, do this. Pretty sure it's all lowercase. Okay, so I should be fine. Let's start that back up. Oops. Need to do that. Okay, run server. Let's go back here. Okay, I think we're fine. Lowercase. So let's do, we'll use our make migrations. No changes detected. Oh, I didn't. It helps if I save the file. Okay, so let's do that. Make our migrations. Oh, because I need to always include the on delete for foreign keys, as that would make sense. Okay, do that. So now we're going to say anytime the parent site gets deleted, we don't need to keep anybody. Yes, we want to do that. We'll provide a one-off, which is fine. It'll be 0. Cool. We don't have any sets anyway, so it doesn't really matter right now. And then we'll do Python manage migrate. Okay. So if we go here, run our server again. Do we have a terminal with this open? Don't think so. Let's open this. So we should be able to come in here and say sets. Okay, so we see completed reps, sequence number, exercise. There's no sets, so we can't add anything, but we see the max, min, and completed. Cool. Easy enough. So let's come back here. Let's do a get status. We should just see the two things, the update to the model and the new migration. So let's do get add. I like to do a get status again just to double check. Get commit updated set model to support new fields. Okay. Cool. We shouldn't have anything in here, and then we'll do a get push. Okay, so if I come back to here, I see, cool, I got a new update. We don't want to push it into the main, we want to push to develop. I don't really need to put too much description in here. Let's actually do that. Added support for min reps, max reps, and references to parent sets. There. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy. Okay. We shouldn't have any issues, I would hope. Okay. Cool. Merge that. Merge. Done. Don't need that branch anymore. Delete. Okay. So, got that knocked out. So this should auto move over, I think. Get. Whoops. Let's refresh this. I thought this would move over because the pull request got closed. And it was associated with the branch. Oops. Oh, I did have this open. Cool. So I'm just going to close this, move this to done. All right. So the more interesting one that I really wanted to start today is building domains. For me, I am the idea. We kind of talked about this actually. Let's go here. Go here. So, one of the patterns I really talked about last week was trying to do the domain driven development. And the idea is that each model will have their own domain that they're going to be responsible for working with, and it will contain the business logic associated with that object. So I'm going to have everything about creating that record, querying that record, validating the user data as it comes in, anything that's going to be associated with manipulating or those records will be contained within the domain. And the idea there is that it creates a situation where the logic is all isolated from like the views, from the actual like I don't know, the displays, everything like that. I'm containing all of the business logic in one place. So that way, if I need to ever update the business logic, I know I just go to the domain and it's going to have everything that I need to work for from that. So let's. Did I put too much detail in here? Okay, I did put some stuff in here. Cool. So let's go ahead. We're going to branch off of develop. We're going to do feature as our prefix because I like that. And we'll create the branch. Okay. Let's do those. Okay. So right now under my Awaken Fit project, I just have, the basics files that are guaranteed to me by the Django command line parameters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make a new folder and I'm going to call it domains. And I'm doing it lowercase and plural to match up with the patterns that we have here for models and migrations. And so I'm going to make this a package. I'm just going to include an empty in it for right now. Eventually what I will have is I'll have some stuff to help me reference these other objects. So let's just kind of open this and keep whatever. I like to keep whatever I'm working on to the sides. That way I can see what I'm doing. So let's do this. So do we want to, I'll do it like this. I think this is fine. I'm just thinking about naming patterns. If I want to call it exercise domain, so let's do class. We'll just call it exercise. And it's going to inherit from object. And what else do we care about? That will cause a conflict. So we're going to call this exercise domain. just for simplicity, make it easier. And so what I'm going to do is from up models import exercise. And so now essentially I'm just going to build a bunch of stuff around how I would envision using the exercise object or the database model right now. And as I go, like as I build the GraphQL endpoints and things, I'm going to obviously update this and include new features as I go. So let's think. We probably want to be able to get by single ID. We probably want to get by ID set. We want to be able to create an exercise. Now remember, exercise is actually the work a person is performing, and a movement is what we're terming as like bench press, squat, deadlift. Those are the movements, and it's like the overarching thing that everybody does, whereas an exercise is what the person actually did on that day. Like this morning, I did burpees. So the movement is burpees, but the exercise is tied to today, if that makes sense. Because then I can provide notes that are specific to myself about how I felt when I did that movement. What else? We probably want to be able to, get by user. That's probably something that we're going to want. I think those are easy enough to start with. So let's do a def get by ID. And we'll just do an ID. So these are all going to be static methods because they're not going to be associated with a particular instance of this domain because it's not important. But essentially what I'm trying to do by putting them in this class is grouping logic of associated methods together with the class. So that way everything is grouped together by the domain. So from a API perspective, the user will be able to come in and see, oh, all of these methods when I do get by ID from the exercise domain or anything within the exercise domain is associated with the exercise model, and I'm manipulating or querying or creating or whatever things associated with that object. So we'll do ID set. We'll do by user. Probably going to do user ID. And then we'll do create exercise. And we'll provide movement. We'll do movement ID. Intensity and notes. And then we'll pass. Okay. So, perfect. So let's do this. We're going to just do pretty easy exercise, objects, filter, or I guess I can do a get ID. Perfect. And then I can do, what is it? Return exercise, objects, filter, ID in. Let's actually change this variable, ID set. And so by providing if you're really new to Django, what I can do is by providing a double underscore, I'm pretty sure this is the format, I'm giving it like extra context. So what I could do is like ID underscore GE, which tells it any ID greater than whatever I provided. But by providing the underscore in, I'm telling it anything that is contained within the parameter I'm providing, as long as its ID is in that list, or in this case, a set, give me that as a part of the filter. And I'm pretty sure that's right. Let's just double check. So yet again, I'm just kind of looking at a project that I've already done because I know it's going to be a little easier for me to find. Yeah, cool. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Okay. Ah, so this is an interesting thing. Uh, this one we'll need to come back to because we don't um have it set up for it to be able to work quite yet. So we have just like a basic exercise domain. So let's come over here, click on that so I can open up some of these other ones. Come back here. Let's open up. Let's make a new file for movement. And we'll do from, models, import movement. Class movement domain, and we'll inherit from object. Okay. So there's a bunch of stuff that we potentially want to filter on from here, right? Wonder if that text is big enough. Can never tell. Okay. So let's kind of take this as the boilerplate that we're going to call for all of our domains because we're going to want that for everything, right? Oops, that's not what I wanted to edit. So we'll do that. So now we have default, every one of our things is going to have get by ID set. So we can get a single one or we can get a bunch of them. Now we have a few fields that, well, almost all of these fields are ones that we potentially want to be able to filter on and users are going to want to be able to search for. So why don't we go ahead and build out those. Get by name, and we'll do, I believe I can do movement dot objects dot filter name contains, or it's I contains, I think. Contains name. And I'm pretty sure, let's just double check. Django filter, query set filter. I just want to double check what I can provide to the filtering criteria. And I believe I can do like I contains. Yeah, exactly. So I'm saying I want to look for anything in the name field and I want to use I contains because it's case insensitive. Perfect. Okay, so that'll give me any names that contain some field. Cool. So let's do another one. Let's get by. I don't think we care about getting it by the description. That wouldn't really help us a lot. So let's do primary muscle group. And we'll do muscle group. Now, actually, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this. I'm not going to do it by primary muscle group. I'm just going to do get by muscle group. And what I'll do, hey, how's it going? I will filter by both. So that way, if like chest or biceps is in either the primary or the secondary, we'll filter, we'll get those both. So that way, when the user's like trying to build a workout or a plan, they'll get it regardless. So let's do that. Turn movement objects dot filter. Now, I do believe I need to use a Q query for this because I'm doing an OR. Believe I do. Oops, where am I in the page? Can't see my cursor. Scroll all the way to the top. What the heck? There we go. Oh, okay, yeah. So let's do that. We'll import the Q query. That'll be fine. That'll be better. So I like to make sure my like library specific imports are first, and then after that I import like my local ones. So let's just double check how they're doing this. Q, okay, objects.filter, and then we're gonna build a queue where primary muscle group equals muscle group. And then what is it? Really? You put the pipe too? I don't remember that. Q secondary muscle group equals muscle group. Okay. That's gonna probably yell at me that this line is too long. So let's just do this. I think that's okay. I'm gonna use the black auto formatter, so it's not gonna really matter too much on how it looks after the fact, because it'll handle that for me at all. Okay. And honestly, we're gonna write tests for this in a minute anyway, so we'll find out how it looks. Okay. So kind of the same thing. We want to do static method. We want to do get by equipment type. And we'll just pass in that. And we'll turn movement dot objects filter equipment type equals equipment dot all. And then we'll also do one finally for get by movement type movement, and we'll return movement, objects filter movement type equals movement all. Okay, cool. So let's save that. So we have a movement domain. We've provided a bunch of different ways to get records and filter by the record. That looks pretty good to get started. Now, I do want to be able to create ones as well. Create movement. Oops, that's like I want def. Create movement. And so we need to provide it a name, a description, a primary muscle group, secondary muscle group, equipment, movement type. Okay, kind of a lot of parameters. So there's two ways we could do this. We could either do some validation to make sure that like the primary muscle group, secondary muscle group, equipment type, that are all, because they're all choice fields, right? These are all choice fields. So they need to be in the choices that we predefined previously. So we could do some validation here as we're building it, or I could assume the validation was done before. How do we want to do this? Probably a good idea to verify the choice is valid before I go to insert the record. Let's think. So each of these choices are a list of tuples. And if I remember correctly, it's the value, the first value is the one that gets saved to the database. So let's actually pass. I think what I want to do I haven't done this in a little bit, but I actually think I want to create an exception. So let's say, uh, let's look at this. I just want to double check how I should declare one. Okay, so you just pass it as a type exception. Okay, so do we want to create an invalid or an exception for each of those fields? Or do we even want to create an exception and we just want to log the exception or like the error? I think what I'm gonna do is just return nothing. So we'll do this. We'll do created record equals none. And what we'll do is we'll return created record. So it'll return none in the scenario when we failed. So we'll, if any of these like choice fields are not properly provided to us based off of the choices we've defined over here on the right, we won't create a record and we'll return something to user from them from a view perspective, and then we'll just return none as the object. So they'll be able to see, hey, something happened, I didn't get a record created. The reason why is because of the malformed input. Oh man, I forgot. So I want to start doing what is it called? Type hinting. So I need to do that actually. So this should return movement. Yeah, there we go. And this is going to be a set of ID. Can I do that? List int. Can I do that? Cool. And this will be potentially return a list of movement. I feel like that looks right. This is going to be a string, and this will return a list of movement. It's not string in Python, it's str. This is going to be a string as well, and this will return a list of movement. So I haven't really done anything in type hinting format before, so like trying to get into the habit because it is definitely hard. VS Code is nice a lot of times when you define new operations, it'll give you some of that for you, but I didn't use that, so I kind of have to do it myself, but that's fine. So this will also be a string, not a string with all of it. Okay, cool. Now, oh man, because this one's kind of big, so we're going to reformat how this is listed. Fix all this. So what we can do though, all of these are car fields, so they're all going to be strings anyway, so it's really easy to remember. I can just use that as a reference for what the types are for each of these inputs. Now, the idea is at the end, this operation would be ideally automated. Like I should be calling create movement automatically. I'm going to write a script. I have a, where is it? I have a thing. Oops. It's not that. Where did it go? I have this guy. Where is it? This guy. So last week I kind of showed this briefly. I have this CSV that I found that has a huge data set of like 3,000 exercises that people do. And so the idea is that eventually I'm going to write a script that will read this CSV and generate the populate the database for me, and it'll use this create movement function to actually generate the records in the database. And I don't, from a user perspective, I don't really want users to be able to use this. This should really be reserved for like admin type privileges, because I don't want people to just start adding a bunch of different movements to the database, because then it could get really crazy. So let's see. So we need to check to see that each of these choice fields is one of the options, or the input that the user provided is one of the items in the choice field. So we have the muscle groups, we have the equipment, and the movement types. Did I make this over here as one thing I forgot to think about? So not every exercise is going to have a secondary muscle group, or it could have a third or whatever. I kind of just limited it to primary and secondary. I wonder if I should be able to have this as blank. Does everybody have any thoughts on that? I wonder if I should continue to have a default, or if it makes more sense. I should probably have it be. Let's do this, actually. I even have a better idea. We're going to add another one for none. Oops. There. And we'll add that in. And so that way we can default to on primary, we'll have abdominals. On secondary, we'll have none. There. So that way, do I need? I think I need a migration for that. But at least now, that makes sense. We'll usually have a primary, not always a secondary. Okay. So let's look at this. So how can we do this? What's going to be our easiest way to check to make sure this string is in if primary in muscle choices? That's not going to work, because that's I'm looking at a tuple. Let's see. I should be able to do like, how can I look at that? So let's look here. Let's do this. Stop the development server. We don't need it. So if we do Python manage shell, we should be able to do from, what is my path here? We can fit models import movement. Cool. So if I do dot, what is it? Muscle choices. Okay. Okay. Oop. Okay. So I'm just trying to use the, oh, hey, how's it going? I'm just trying to use the interactive shell to see, like, prototype essentially what I'm trying to do. Because it makes it a little easier for me to put my thoughts in place. So if I'm doing iterating over each tuple, there has to be a way for me. Oh, I'm silly. I can do it this way. I can just do it like this. Yeah. Okay. I'm so silly. That was an easy one. I just need what I can do is I can do value unpacking or tuple unpacking to get the choices out, and then check to see if it's one of the values. But how does that doesn't help me because then I'm still having to manually check if each one is what I want. Um, there has to be. What would be the easiest thing I could do? If I so I unpack, I can't do I can't do I can't do like items on this because it's not, yeah, it's a it's a list of tuples. So what would be, I know there's like a one liner and I can't think of it. Um yeah, checklist of tuples for value. Oh, this Google Gemini thing. See, I could do, that's not what I want. Oh, it's the any guy. Okay. So it's saying check value in the tuple for each tuple in my list. Okay. I see. Okay. So um we'll do if not, what is it? Do we need to import anything for any? I don't think so. Any, what is it? Oh man. There we go. Primary muscle group in values for, is it, yeah, and then it's values again, yeah, in movement dot muscle choices. There we go. Okay. Whew. So essentially what this is saying is if there's any, as long as our primary muscle group value that we provided is in the values for each value in the list of things. So we'll return. I don't want to do that actually. I don't like that. We're gonna. How do we want to turn this? No record created. We'll pass for now. So we're gonna do this kind of same pattern for each of these. So what we can do is here, do that. Perfect. Not what I want. I want this. Do that. Clean that up. We want equipment. And we want equipment choices. Copy again. Man, why is it adding all that extra lines? And we want movement type. Okay. So now we've generated like validation for our input to make sure that each of the choice fields are values that we're getting provided are valid values that our SQL table is not gonna hate and blow up about. So let's figure out how we want to do this. So there's, like I said, there's two ways I could do this. Is I could either return nothing and log an error, or I think that's what I'm going to do. Since this is only really going to be for internal usage, I'm just going to return none if anything pops up and becomes a problem. It shouldn't be this isn't something that should be user facing. So I think that's okay. So actually we'll do this. We'll do that and then valid input equals true. We'll just assume the input's true, valid. And we'll do this if any of these things fail to validate, we'll trigger it as invalid. And so we'll do that. And that'll prevent us from creating any record if the input doesn't validate. And then we can just do created record equals movement.objects.create, and we can do name equals name. Oh, there is one thing that I just realized we need to check. So probably need to truncate description. So we want to, let's do that actually. If length of description greater than equal to 500 or greater than 500, we'll do description equals description 500. Let's actually make that a value up here. Max description length equals 500, and we're just basing these off of the lengths that we provided over here, and then we'll do max name length equals 255. Okay, so that way don't want to have any magic numbers or anything in here, so we'll do movement domain.max description length. Oops, we want this whole thing. Put that here. And we'll also do the same thing for the other one for name, just to be safe. Name greater than movement domain dot max. And this is just good habit to make sure we want to validate any of our stuff to make sure we're not getting bad data in. And I know like this is supposed to be for internal use and that I'm going to be writing the script that's doing this, but defensive programming is always good, just in case something happens. Like it's always better safe than sorry, because you don't want to have garbage data getting through. Okay, so there we go. Name, description, primary muscle group, secondary muscle group. I'm so silly. Primary, second. Oh, I'd already changed this. I thought I messed up or forgot something. Okay. There we go. There. All right. So now we'll call the create on our object and store the variable or the returning object that we generated into the created record. And then as long as the inputs that we created or were provided were valid, we'll create the record and return that to the user. And in the case like we get garbage data, the user is going to get nothing back. They'll get a none back. All right. I think that's a good starting point for that. So I am really big with writing unit tests for Django. I really like their unit tests. I mean, I know they're just based off the Python unit tests, but I like the way that they run, and it gives me a warm and fuzzy feeling when I get to see all those dots that said all my tasks pass. So when you run the create app, it just gives you like a basic file. I'm not going to do it like use that. I prefer to convert it to a module so that way I can organize my tests a lot better. So I'm going to rewrite this as tests. I'm going to add the init. By me just writing it or naming this folder and including the init the same as this file, the Django test runner will automatically pick this up for me, so I don't have to do anything fancy. And so what I will do is I will actually add another folder in here for domains. And I like to write my tests so that way they match up with like the portions that I'm working on. So in this case, I'm currently going to write a test for the domains. So I'm going to add a domains file or folder. That's not the name. And then I'm going to add a, what was I working on? Movement. Do I need a, I think I need to name it test. I'm pretty sure I need to prefix all the test files with test. Let me just double check. Because I don't want to get too far into this and then forget. Yeah. Okay, cool. So we are, don't need this over here, but I do want the domain open so that way I can see the various functions that I need to do. So let's do class. Do I want to prefix it with test or suffix it with test? I think I want to do suffix. And then I think it's just from unit test, import unit test. No, or no, it's test case, import test case. Yep. And then we can do set up. Okay. Don't want to do that. I like. Oh, really? You like to create your tests in one file? So I'll show you this other project that I worked on previously. This one, I ended up having like, I think close to 300 tests that I wrote. And so finding and managing and remembering where to put them, it became impossible. So that's why I like to create different modules for each. I create the test module and then have little folders for each of the portions of the project that it's relevant to. So like you'll see here, I have domains and then I have a model. And then once I get to the point where I'm going to have my GraphQL endpoints, I'm going to have a schema as well to contain all the tests associated with the GraphQL interface. So I like to write my tests like with a lot of boilerplate up front. So that way I can just kind of come back and fill it in. And it also makes me feel good because then when I go to run the test, it tells me all the tests that are even empty passed. So that's kind of how I start. Let me just double check. Yeah. Okay, so I did suffix these before. So I just want to be consistent. So test get by ID and we'll pass. So what I can do, honestly, is just copy and paste. So I'll do def test, do that. Oops. I just kind of come over here and I do copy paste for each of the methods that I've defined already, because I want to have a test for each one, because then that gives me warm and fuzzy that each of the methods that are provided have coverage and that they're working as I expect. I know test writing isn't the most exciting thing, but it definitely has saved me like an insane amount of time sometimes with some random scenario that I hadn't come up with was causing something to break. I figured it out, wrote a test for it, and then now anytime it automatically gets detected by my unit test. So that way I don't have to remember it ever again, which is super nice. Okay. So we have unit test. We have our setup. Let's import the model that we need to import the model, sorry. Oops. models import movement from domains import. Oops, I need to go up one more. Domains import. Ooh, we forgot something. We forgot to update this. So from dot movement import movement domain there. So now we've, by updating, oh yeah, I mean, I know there's an extension for what is it, Copilot in VS Code, but I haven't set it up yet. And I know there's like a limit on the number of nice little things that it gives you, or how many like updates it gives you a day, or something like 80 code completes or something like that. So I haven't bothered doing it yet. But so by updating this init within the domains, I've now made the movement domain accessible from the domain level, so that way the people don't, or anybody using it doesn't have to go down to the actual movement file to get it. So if I do, see, so now I have the access to it. Perfect. So let's see. Let's create a sample movement that we can use. Let's do test movement equals movement. And honestly, we can just use this little thing that I wrote here before as kind of a reminder of how I need to do it. So we'll do name equals, so let's use double quotes, test movement. We will do description equals this is a test movement, whatever, that's fine. Primary, oops, gotta type properly, primary muscle group, and we want movement. We'll just do abdominals, that's fine. Second, and copy paste. Saves us all the effort of misspelling everything. We'll do abdominals and quads. Cool. Equipment. Wait, is it equipment or equipment type? Oops. Now I already have a typo. This test would have found it, but let's fix it first. There we go. Equipment type equals movement dot barbell. And we'll do movement type. Nope. Oh my gosh, what just happened? Copy paste. Movement type equals movement dot. What did I even do for the movement types? Oh shoot. Oh, okay, cardio, strength, stretching. Okay, cool. All right, so we created a test movement. Do I need to save it? I don't think I need to save it to anything, so I'm just gonna delete that for right now. If anything, I can always add back in the temporary thing. Oh wait, I'm so silly. I do need it. Because how am I going to get the ID of it for this test if I don't have an object to get the ID from? I'm so particular about my indentation and making sure it lines up properly. But actually my auto formatter is going to do this, so I might as well do that as well. Okay. Let's create a second one just for test movement 2, test movement 2. We'll do chest, triceps, and that's fine. Cool. The reason why I want to do a second one is for the set. So that way I can use the IDs from the two sets or from the two records to make sure that the set that I get back has multiple records, and then I'm able to query. Actually, let's do a third one, because then what I can do is verify that if I only provide 2 keys, I'm not going to get all 3. And we'll do hamstring none. Cool. All right. So let's see. So we want to do self dot assert equal, and we are going to do self dot test movement. Let's actually do this how we think it's going to look in a second. The movement domain dot get by ID, and we're going to pass it self dot test movement dot ID, and the error message is going to be failed to get the expected record back. Cool. We'll just do this for 2 of them. It's not a big deal. There. And so, as I said, I am a big fan of just running this anytime I write a test. Oh, it's because Python manage make. As we forgot, we updated some chess fields and adjusted a few things for the default values. So I need to, I need to fix that. So we're going to make migration, migrate it, and then we should be able to run the test. So what failed? I need to come over here, and I need to do this. I'm pretty sure. I do believe that's what I need. Yes, cool. Simple error. I forgot to tell the get method that I'm getting it based off the primary key, which is our ID field, or the ID that we're passing in. You'll notice it's telling me that I passed 7 tests because I wrote 7 little boilerplates that don't do anything. Only 1 actual test is executing. Awesome. So we're off to a fantastic start. So we're going to make an ID set, and we're going to do, oh man, what is the syntax for inline declaring a set? I know if I do add, but I want to, oh, what is this? Oh my. Why did it give me 2 dot something? That's not what I want. I just want to declare it as or initialize it as I'm declaring it. Python set initialize. Oh, okay. So it's a set, and then you provide it just square brackets inside. Okay. And we're going to do self.test movement.id, and we'll do self.test movement2.id. And so we're just creating an ID, a set with the IDs for 2 of our test guys, and then we're just going to so we're going to call this guy, we'll call it results equals movement domain dot get ID set, and we're going to pass in the ID set that I made. And so I'm going to do self.assert equal. And it's going to be 2, and it's going to be the length of the result. Did not get the appropriate number of records back. And then I'll do assert. Can I do that? How can I do that? I'll do this. For entry in result. Oh no, that's not going to work either. That's fine. So we'll do assert equal and we'll do self.test. Oops. Gotta put this self.test movement, and we'll do result 0. I can't do that because if I do, I'm assuming that my result is going to be in a specific order. Do I want to? Because I'm not doing any ordering over here by like ID or anything. So what would be the easiest way that I could write it so that I can check each record is the one that I got back? I'm going to write something just as a note. Says, I think, need to check the result includes the records I expected. So for right now, that's fine. I'll come back and think about it as I go. Okay, so next thing we want to do is test this one. So let's do, we'll just call, oh, because I'm doing, that's an interesting issue that I just thought of. So if I'm doing a get by name, if I do, because I'm using an I contains, it's going to return all of them because they all have the same type of details. So let's do this. We'll change this. We'll do something like this. We'll do, and then we'll do, okay. Oops, that's not how you spell squats. So I gave them real names instead of some bogus thing. And so what I can do here is do result equals movement domain dot get by name. And if we just include like lowercase squat, we should be able to get this guy, right? And if I include BB, I should get all three, which is perfect. So let's do self.assert equal. We want to make sure that the length of result is only 1. Did not get the... And I kind of just use similar error messages each time for my unit tests. So that way it kind of just, I don't know, looks the same regardless. And then let's do result equals movement domain dot get by name, and we'll do cap BB this time. We should be getting 3 records back. And we'll just copy and paste this again because I'm lazy and that's easier. So what we should also be able to do is do assert equal self.test movement and result 0. Expected to get a squat movement back. So the reason why we need to provide the 0 here is because we're getting a query set back from this. We're not getting like a single record, so we just need to always, we've already checked that there's only 1 record in the thing. We just need to double check that the 1 record is the object that we expected. So, as again, I like the warm fuzzy feeling, so let's run this again. So something failed. Got 7. How is that possible? What in the world? What did I do wrong? How can I possibly get 7 results back? Test get by name. 1 doesn't equal 7. How is result 7? What did I do wrong? So I'm creating 3 records. Get by name. Get by name. Let's look. Name I contains name. Any thoughts? What the heck? Let's look here. Name. Get by name. Get by name. Let's do this. We'll just print out the result first so we can see what the heck it returned, because that's crazy. Why did it return 7? Oh. Oh, I'm so... Wait. Did I do this wrong here? That's why. It's because there's 7 tests, but my test database wasn't getting cleaned out after each one. So why is that? Did I mess something up? Why is my database not cleaning up after each test case? Because I'm doing setup instead of setup case or setup class. What the heck? What did I do wrong? What the heck? Test setup or setup, because there's the way in. Oh man, that's gonna drive me crazy. Let's look here. Oops. Test. Let's just double check that I wrote this right. Setup. Objects create. Is there a setting that I missed or something? That like... I'm pretty sure, unless they changed it, Django test database retaining info. I don't want to preserve the database. Yeah, I don't want it to keep the database, so why is it? Any thoughts? Don't use unit tests? Oh, is it my... Because I know it's based off of it. Oh, it's you use the Django test case. Ah, that's right. Whoops. Which is test case under the hood, but they do some like stuff for it, right? Okay, so that oh man, it shows that I haven't written from scratch in a little bit on these tests. So what did it yell at me now? Built-in function or method has no len. Oh, because I typed len again. I'm dumb. There we go. Cool. Thank you. It's because I... Oh, sorry. 1 second. Sorry, I have a dog and somebody just left, so she's like going crazy barking. Okay. So I know that the Django test case uses like unit test at some point, like in the hierarchy, but okay, so I need to, yeah, uses a standard unit test. Okay, but I need to use the Django test case instead. Got it. Okay, so that fixes that. So let's see, we didn't do any of these that have duplicates, right? I actually want to do that. Let's do that. We're gonna fix this. We're gonna do a movement 4. And I'm going to do quadriceps as the secondary. And the reason why I want to have one as the, oh wait, that doesn't help me. Let's fix this. Do quadriceps here and we'll do abdominals here. There. I want to have like if I'm searching for quadriceps, I want to make sure that it searches both the primary and the secondary. So whenever I search for this or this one, the unit test for that one, it should return me 2 records if I search based off of quadriceps. So let's do results, movement domain, get by muscle group, and we'll do movement. Nope. Oh, dot quadriceps. And we should say self dot assert to len result, and we'll copy and paste our favorite error message for that. And do we care if we do one of these other ones? I'll do one for chest as well, just us. So I should be able to just copy and paste all of this. Delete some of these extra lines. I don't want those. And let's do there. And we should only be getting 1 back. Okay. Do that. What did I get? Oh. Oh. Whoops. I need to change the name on this because now there's 2 with the same name. Do I want... That's something I actually didn't think about. Should I be making the name field on this unique? I probably should. So we want to do... let's think. Let's do this like split squats. Not really a hamstring movement, but that's fine. This is a test. Run that again. What? Did not get the appropriate name. Get by name. Oh. There. I'm silly. I keep repeating stuff. Then that's causing my tests to break. Okay. That's fine. Cool. Okay, so get by name, get by muscle group, get by equipment type, movement type. These should all be like pretty much the same. Is there anything that I want to do? The next 2 are going to be the same because all the ones I wrote are for barbell and strength. And it really is like, I'll just copy paste them. That'll be really straightforward. It'll just be like this. And we'll do barbell, and we should be getting 4. We'll just copy this and do strength. There. Okay, so we now have... What? Oh. It helps if I actually change the method that I'm calling. Equipment type. Movement type. equipment type, movement type, movement type. There we go. Still failed. Cannot resolve keyword equipment type into field. So I have an issue here. What did I call it? Ah, there's a typo because I cannot spell. So let's do that. Make a migration to edit our field. That's not a... Yes. Because I made a mistake. There we go. Now we should be able to do Python manage test. Oh, because now all of my stuff is broken because I'm silly. And wait, what is this? Oh, because I have all of these these movements. Oh man, because I copy and pasted, and so it broke all three of these. And it's failing for each one because the setup gets rerun. There we go. There, fixed it. Oh man, I always hate when it's typos that are like the issue instead of actual logic. Okay. Setup. We have our 3 tests for getting filtering based off of that. So now this is where it's interesting, I guess. There's a couple ways I could do this. I could either write one big test case that covers a bunch of different scenarios, or I can create individual test cases, like a good one, and then test cases for failures. And so typically in the past, especially with Django, with the way Python likes to report unit tests, I typically lean towards having the successful one as like this default test name. And then I will typically do something like long name. And then I'll have like another one where it's like long description. And the reason why I like to do this is so that way I can see based off of the name what test failed and like what didn't get caught in terms of the logic within here. Because like each of these little decision branches that I have within this create movement for the domain, I should have like a scenario where I do like a bad scenario to make sure that it gets caught and that I don't get any object back, since I'm always going to be like returning none when the validation fails. So that's kind of the way I typically like to do it, and it helps me mentally keep track of, did I cover all the scenarios that I should be for failures, or scenarios where like the input or whatnot that the user provided to me was bad. So, did I copy this? So we did long description, we did long name, we'll do bad, primary. That's not how you spell primary. And then we'll copy this one since we're just gonna change one. And then we've got add equipment with an I. And then we've got the final one is bad movement, right? Name. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have our good case, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cool. So we have our one test case that is like the good one, where it should pass every single time. Well, they should all pass every single time. But this one's going to result in a record getting created and me being able to query against it. And then the rest of them, I should be getting nothing back from the domain. And when I do a query against the records, there should be no extra record. So what I typically like to do is I like to write my test for these kind of scenarios where I put I validate the precondition. So what I like to do is something like I'll do something like this. So I'll do movement dot objects dot all. So I'm getting the number or all the objects in the database for movements that exist before I do anything. And so then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to call result equals movement domain dot create movement, and we're going to go ahead and start filling in the fields. So let's say we're going to call it test movement because this is only contained within this test, so I don't care. The other ones, it actually ended up being important because I need to filter on it and stuff. This is a test create movement. We're going to do primary is going to be, let's do triceps, and we'll do none. That's fine. Equipment, don't need to pass that in. What do we want? Move. Equipment is going to be a dumbbell, and the move, it's going to be a strength training. Cool. So now we're calling the movement domain. We're trying to create a new record. Here's all the attributes that we're going to pass to it. So now let's do assert not none is not none. There we go. Result should have resulted in a movement record being returned. Okay. So I'm just checking to make sure that this is not a none object, that I actually got something back from the database or from my call. Oh, excuse me, from my call to the domain. And I want to do next. Let's do this. Updated. Do that, and we'll do a self.assert is not or not equal. And we will do existing movements, and we'll do updated movements. New movement should have been created. Let's fix this. I don't like when the lines are too long, especially when I do the side by side. Having the lines long makes it impossible to read what I'm doing. So I'm just saying, hey, the existing movements, the new movements, they're different. I should be able to do self.assert equal, and I should be able to do len of existing movements plus 1 equals updated movements, right? Because now I'm saying whatever I had before the test, I created a new one. I should then, oops, I need to do len. The length of what I had before the test plus 1 should equal what I have after the test. So let's just double check. Okay. This dang equipment typo. Where is that? Oh. Wait, what? Where's my type? Oh, it's in here. Man, I gotta learn how to spell better. Okay, 6 does not equal 5. Okay, so why did this not? So let's think. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we created a new one, 5. So how is existing movements 6? Or existing movements plus 1 equal to 6? How did that happen? Interesting. Oh, wait, what? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I know. I think I know. Maybe I do? I'm pretty sure I know what the issue is. I'm pretty sure this statement doesn't actually get evaluated until I try to use it, and that's why here it's evaluating here, and so that's why they're existing movement and updated movement are the same at this point in time. So if I do print updated movements, we'll see they should be identical. Yeah. So you can see here on this line right here, because I don't actually use it, it doesn't update. So if I actually do this, this will evaluate the statement. Am I using this anywhere else? Oh. I want to use... Wait, but that's going to... Did that fail? It did not. So how is that possible? Oh, I think it's because of the fact that it's... Yeah. I think what happens is because this is like a cursor to the database, that this is... that's why this one isn't failing, is because they're like different objects in memory, essentially. Oh, because I'm silly and need to get rid of the len now, because I've already done it before. There. Cool. There we go. Yeah, so essentially what happened here is because I never actually evaluated or like iterated over this or anything, it's basically Django does lazy queries. So until you actually go to use the object that the resulting query set, it's still like unevaluated statement kind of thing. And so because I never actually touched it or anything beforehand, it never evaluated, so it was still just like a statement. So when I actually came down here to this line and went to access it is when the query was run, and at that point the record had already been created here, and that's why it wasn't getting picked up as like a difference. Cool. Weird, like this is like weird behavior that sometimes you find, sometimes you won't find. It just depends. But there should be an easier way for me to write the test, so that way that doesn't pop up. But that's not a big deal. So let's go ahead and do this. So we'll go to the next one. I'm going to take this as inspiration for all of these because these are all going to care about this. So we're just going to copy and paste that. Now, the interesting thing, there should be an easy way for me to come in here and do this. And what I should be able to do, so what is this? Long name. I should be able to use a list comprehension, right? To generate some like crazy long name for this. We'll just do like, or I guess I could just do a, like, what is it? I should be able to multiply. Can't I do that? I feel like I'd do that. Yeah, cool. Easy. So we'll just do that. Max name length. We'll do that plus 5, whatever. It doesn't really matter. So we're just creating a really arbitrarily long name with the letter A. That's our max length plus 5 times long. Okay, cool. And so now I should be able to do self.assert is none result, and we should be getting should not have resulted in creating a new record. Cool. So what we can do is honestly just like copy and paste all of that for pretty much all of these, because it's the same pattern that we want to follow for all of these guys. But you know what would have been really smart is to actually finish. I should do like I did here. I should do this again. And I should do this again. Do 0, that, there. So we're going to query for movements again and insert that whatever it was at the beginning is the same length as we have at the end, since we shouldn't be creating anything, since all these scenarios are essentially bad scenarios. So I'm just going to copy and paste all of this over on top of each other. I'm going to minimize the ones that I'm not working on so that way I can read what I am doing. Okay, that's the good one that we did. Long name. Save. That one's done. So this one we'll change this back to test movement. And we'll change this to, we'll just do the same thing we did before with the other one. Movement domain dot max plus 5. Okay. Here, just for sanity check, let's double check that these are actually working. Oops. Because, wait, why did these all fail? Oh, I'm so silly. Can somebody tell me what I did wrong? These are going to create records. Is not done. The issue is that should have resulted in creating a record. The issue is that the value that I should be getting back for the name should be truncated. So I should also do an assert. We'll do an assert equal result.name, and we'll do movement domain dot max name length. Name should have been truncated. There. Whoops. I'm silly. There we go. Is not none. And we want to do description. Max description length. Let's fix our formatting so I can see what I'm doing. Okay. That's better. But now these other ones, these are going to result in nothing getting created. So let's fix these. Test movement. And we're going to put in not a real muscle group. There. That should fail. So is none. Okay. Let's minimize some of these that are done with. Long description, Brad, primary muscle group. Let's copy these again so that way we're not retyping it every time. And then we'll do not a real muscle group here. Since we're, just remember these are two different fields on the object. So this one is the primary, this one's the secondary, so primary, secondary. Then here, we're gonna fix this one again. This one is gonna be not real equipment with the I, since I forgot how to spell equipment. Do that. And not real movement type. There. Save those. Let's run these again. Name should have been truncated. Name should have been truncated. So what did I do wrong? Does not equal 500. Let's see. So the move, this max length 500. I wonder if it's something to do. I should probably set this actually like a little bit lower. So that way it actually like, because I don't know if there's any issues with databases in actually hitting the limit. I've never done that. Did I do something wrong over here? So we're trimming it up to, from 0 up to, I think it has to do with, it's because of this. I think because of the way the trim works, because it's not inclusive of that character, so it'll really give me 0 to 249, right? But I feel like that should I'm not sure. Oh, I guess I could just print it and it would make it easier for me to like actually see what it's returning. Print. Let's do that. 251. So this, adding this definitely broke it. So I was fine there as I expected originally, but why 250? Oh, I'm so silly. Yet again, forgetting to do length. Man. Man. Where am I? Long description. Man. It helps if I actually compare. I should have recognized when it gave me strings against numbers. There we go. No. Oh, and here I need to increase this by one because an actual record did get created. Cool. There we go. Whew. Man, my brain. All right. So we kind of built out first domain. Well, we built two domains, didn't we? We built two. We built exercise and movement. We could update this one again, but I think we're at a good stopping point for today. So I built the movement domain, and remember, just like kind of covering it. Remember, the idea with the domain is to create all the business logic around a particular object. So that way I'm keeping everything self-contained in one area. So anytime I'm like in this example, anytime I'm working with a movement, I need to get movements from the database. I need to associate movements with anything. I need to create movements. I'm going to go and all that logic is going to be in this domain to keep everything nice and isolated. So since I don't really have any other code right now, I don't have any more business logic other than creating movements, but I have a bunch of logic around getting various movements. So that way, my other domains that are going to be like higher order, that are going to depend on movements like exercise or templates, they're going to depend on movements. They're going to use the movement domain to get the records that they care about to help users create the records that they want for like views and things like that. Uh, yeah, so I'm very big on domains. I like to keep everything kind of isolated. Um, there's a principle in software engineering, if you're not familiar, it's called the singular responsibility principle. And it's really just like about keeping your files very contained or isolated in types of logic that they're responsible for, keeping your code concise and making it so that it's very straightforward from a perspective of like when I go to read something, I see exactly, oh, I'm dealing with in this case, like the movement object, everything around the movement object. And then I have an exercise domain. I'll have a user domain. I'll have all these different domains that are very specific in what they're for. And so that way, whenever you're building functionality or need to add functionality, it's very straightforward. There's a library already available for me to use to make that like that I'm depending on. Hopefully that makes sense. As I get kind of further along and build more, it'll make more sense once I get to like the GraphQL and building the the user interface and like the queries and mutations and all that stuff. Hopefully this was helpful, and hopefully it made sense because sometimes I confuse myself. But yeah, so I'm gonna keep working on this a little bit, maybe over the week. I do plan on doing this every Friday. Time. Good. I'm glad you learned something. I'm not exactly an expert in anything, but I have been doing this for about 10 years, and I've learned from some really smart people, and just trying to help people get better at like Python, Django, code organization, that kind of stuff. I do plan on doing this every Friday. Time, not exactly sure, but I will be taking the VOD from here and I'll upload it onto YouTube. Maybe next week I can figure out how to dual stream so they're on both because I think some people were interested on YouTube. So we'll see. But I will talk to you guys later. Thank you.